Here I am. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the stream here. I certainly hope you guys are doing great today, because I'm doing pretty good myself. Today is Wednesday again, so that means we're going to be back into Planet Coaster. But before we get there, I do want to talk a little bit about kind of the schedule for the next coming weeks. As some of you may or may not know, next week, next Friday, I believe, is Christmas, and then the week after that is New Year's Day. I don't plan on streaming on Christmas, so next week it'll just be a Wednesday stream. The week after that, I probably will stream both days. We will see about that. So we're only going to miss one stream, which is pretty good. Yeah, so now that I've got out of the way, I wanted to get that out before I forgot it. Welcome everybody to the stream. If you are new here, welcome. I certainly hope you are enjoying. If you're returning, welcome back. I hope you are going to enjoy the stream as well. Now, we're going to do today, we're going to switch things up a little bit. I think I was getting a little burned out working on kind of the front side of the park. We had started with doing the ticket office and the new entrance, which I was really enjoying. We started moving back towards like the employee check-in and some of the back building like that. And while it's all fun, I think I was getting a little burned out on it. So I want to switch to a new project, bring a little more energy, bring a little more life to me, because I can tell the last stream was a little down. Well, it was still fun. I was a little down. So I actually I'm going to pull the game up here. I've actually been pulling, just kind of walking around, walking around the park. I used to do this when I used to work in Cedar Fair. I just got to see how the park was going. It wasn't really, I had much, like a purpose to be out here. But I've been walking through kind of what we've done originally. If you're new here, you actually can see how all of this was built. Not at least on this side. Some of the older stuff, I actually did a walkthrough of it all. If you're curious, that is actually on YouTube. It's like a 15-minute video. I would highly go and check that out. And really, I should do a second walkthrough video. Maybe, because we've got this whole 80s section done. If that's kind of what we're in right now. We completed this all on stream. So if you actually want to watch me build any of this, you can actually go over there and watch it. It's pretty interesting. It's kind of neat to see how this park's developed just over a year now? Well, I started this in, I think, late 2018. No, late 2019, I'm sorry. And it's kind of spilled over into this. I could be wrong about that. Hold on. Honestly, I don't remember. I can't remember if it was 2018. I know it was December, like a December, January kind of thing. Right around this time. So it's been probably either, I can't remember if it was a year or two. I want to say it's been about 2 years. Either way, it's kind of neat to see how this place has come along, especially since I started streaming it. Before I kind of just work on it when I wanted to and things like that. But now that I've kind of dedicated 3 hours of my week just to this. If you're curious, though, this place is called Thunder Lake. I actually dedicated 3 hours a week just to work on this park. And I understand every once in a while, it's probably maybe not to be the best stream I'd ever do, but it seems like people are enjoying it, especially with the new console release. There's a lot more people playing Planet Coaster now. And yeah, it's been a really enjoyable experience to share it with you guys. So we're all kind of walking through the 80s section here. This is kind of the more generic section, because Thunder Falls is quite a themed ride. Well, themed to our standards at least. If you kind of look through here, it does have quite a bit of theming. A little bit lower there. There we go. It's just, there's some great jokes in here. If I could probably spend another half hour, 45 minutes just walking through, and we might do that one time before we really wrap up streaming this. We might have to walk through it and see all the put all the pictures like that up that we need to, but you actually get all the just give you a walkthrough and just kind of show you what the park's like. But today, I did say I want to switch things up, so let's actually kind of scroll on through here. You got Thunder Lake Speedway kind of on the lower side of this hill here. I do love this. Some people kind of wonder what you do when path doesn't cooperate. Well, you can actually rip this path out, fix the land underneath it, and then rebuild it, or you make it a feature. And this is kind of what we did here. For some reason, the path just dipped down there for some reason. So we made it look like it was kind of some broken path here. And so, we made it look like we were repairing it. And we, barricaded it all off and put trash cans up like a park would. But this is kind of what I wanted to work on today, this ride here. Now, we have started work on this a little bit. Let's go ahead and scroll on down this way. This was actually one of the first rides we actually placed down in our 90s section. It's one of the bigger rides. Besides, well, then we actually built the 2 coasters, which is Phoenix, which is over there. It's a swinging coaster. And we built the Lake Monster, which the Lake Monster I'm actually really kind of proud of. This one it's based on a it's a boomerang coaster. I think, is it Intamin that builds them? I think. Don't quote me on that. You can go look it up. Look up a boomerang roller coaster. You can probably figure out who manufactures them all. Pretty much one company. This one's actually based on Face Off at Kings Island. I've rode that one quite a few times. But yeah, this one I was kind of proud of that one. It was a kind of a quick idea I had, and when I built it, I didn't think of much of it. But it's turned out to be a really nice little coaster. And I love the station as well. Actually having all the fencing and everything to make it look like when the train does pass through here, it does need to have some protection. Because you got to think about it. The coaster's coming through probably, 30 or 40 miles an hour. That close to a guest, it could, if something does fly off, it would be kind of injuring. But you know, I always, and then the queue line itself, I do like all the coaster pieces kind of interspersed throughout it. But I think this is what we're going to work on today, the antique cars. Now this one, I have done a little work on. You can kind of see the bridge here, which, you know, will also kind of shown off in an earlier episode. And this kind of switch back here, we did do a little bit of detail work on it, added some guardrails and stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. I'm trying to think, what did I use for the guardrail? I don't remember. It's been a little bit. Let's be real. Probably month and a half, maybe 2 months. Okay, that's actually 2 separate pieces. That makes more sense. So, this is actually what I wanted to work on today. Now, what I want to do is actually build the station for this ride. Now, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I imagine I want to do something similar to what Kings Island did. So if you guys are not familiar at all with Kings Island is an amusement park just north of Cincinnati, Ohio. They actually had a original antique car ride that they tore down, and I want to say 2004. Real early 2000s, they actually put a roller coaster up there. That's still there. They called Backlot Stunt Coaster. It used to be called Italian Job. It's a couple different names. If you're interested, look that one up. It's kind of a neat ride. And then in 2019, I believe, they actually announced they were going to bring these back, although they're a lot smaller than they originally were. And I kind of like their newer station a little bit better. And really, it's very basic. But I think we can spruce it up a little bit. And I have a little bit of a story now. Some of you know I like actually creating stories for my rides in certain parts of my park. It helps with the theming. You know, if you look this up, Disney does this all the time. Kings Island does this a little bit. They used to do it a lot better with Paramount, but they do still do it with Cedar Fair a little bit. And so the idea behind this is that I want to have. I just thought of an idea that. So essentially, what I want to do is I want to create a idea where you're traveling. You know, like this is a antique car rental. You can actually you rent the car, and then you actually go through like a historical drive through the the early 1900s, early 20th century. So I'm wondering, could I make it look like? As I'm trying to think here, do I actually make? See, here's the thing. It's really open. If this was all in a show building, I can make it look like you were actually traveling back in time through the queue, and then you would just hop on your ride. But I think what we do is we just kind of not encase the building, but kind of make it look like an old garage. That's what I'm thinking. And then we can actually kind of work. We can work through it then. I think that's kind of the best way we can do it. Make it look like an old either car lot or garage. Maybe have the car lot up front and then have the garage out here. We can even use some of the classic cars that come with some of the packs here. Put them out front and make it look like they're for sale kind of thing. I kind of like that. So let me actually Google something right now. Go 1950s car dealership. That's what I'm thinking about, right about in there. A lot of Art Deco, which I know we have some of that. That's why I was kind of curious. So I think this is what we're going to go with. I kind of like that idea. It's starting to... I don't know about anybody else, but when I get an idea, I always love it when I can see it, kind of see it come together. I can kind of get... It's like when I get a story, it's like, okay, I know what I can do here, here, and here. And I do that. I've spent 10 minutes rambling. I get that. But... Let's give me a couple more seconds here. Let me switch over to, what did I want to go to? The mod view on Twitch. So I can actually moderate things for myself as well. Go on, Twitch. There we go. Looks like it's up and going now. So I also have chat up. I completely forgot about having chat up. But it looks like we're all good here. Looks like it. Cool. So, that is all taken care of. We can switch over to the dealership over here. So yeah, let's start working on this. So let's go into here. I can't remember what the actual set... I think it's called the diner set. It is. Cool. I'm thinking we can use some of this to actually kind of create the car dealership lot I'm thinking of. Do they have a glass... corner piece is the first question I have. Not really what I'm thinking of here. But I can use some of these as like dealership signs. I'm getting... this is starting to work out. So, here's what I want to do first. Not what I want to do first. You know what? Let's actually place the front wall first. So let's do a left. You know what? Even better idea. Let's actually use this, because I forgot about this thing. You can actually do this and actually start building on the rides grid. That makes it a heck of a lot easier. And then we do need to turn it down quite a bit. And we also want to brighten it up just a little bit. Let's do something like that and that to start with. Okay, it looks good so far. Do I want to keep the red and yellow there, or do I want to change it to like... Let's change this to like a gold on top and then maybe a blue? A nice deep blue. I think that'll work. Let's see here. We'll do something like this. I have a feeling I'm going to have to move the walls anyways, so I'm not as concerned about it. Although what I am concerned, though, is that they really don't have very many, like, extra wall pieces. And that might be an issue for what we're trying to do, at least. Let's do this. Is that the right way? It is not. I actually want to do a little bit longer window here. Do one of these. I haven't had to use these pieces before, so that's one of the reasons I wanted to do something like this. Because I wanted to see how these pieces actually worked. So what I want to do first is, first off, I want to actually move this down to where it should be. That thing's really tall, isn't it? Maybe something like that. It might just be a little bit larger building than I expected. But that's okay, if need be. Thinking about doing something like this. I don't know if this is going to work out or not. I'll kind of level with you. I don't know. But we're going to give it a try and see if we can get it to work. So let's actually, while we're thinking about it, let's go ahead and move this guy so that For one, we can kind of get the... There we go. It's kind of what I want. Just so we can get the entrance lined up a little bit better. Looks pretty good. Maybe not perfect. We'll have to probably put something on here to cover those up, because I don't really want those sticking out. Unless we can actually make the building move out just ever so slightly. Something like there. I think that kind of works. I think it's not too bad. I do realize that these aren't painted the exact same. We'll need to fix that here. Of course, it won't let me do it all at once. Oh. Come on. Give me the right pieces here. Well, that's not right. I want that one. There we go. And then we wanted to switch this with that gold, and this with that blue. Gold and blue. And the last side over here, we'll do the gold. Or not. Let's try that again. Do the gold and the blue. I have noticed something, that this door is not quite in line with everything. If you notice here, it's not quite flush with this wall here. There we go. It's a quick fix. Might have to do a little bit on the corners there. I think that we can fix that, though. That's no big deal. So I think this is going to be the front of our dealership. I kind of wish there was more, like, tall glass pieces. From what I can tell, they do have some really tall glass pieces on these things, and it kind of makes more sense. That sign looks massive, but can we kind of manipulate one of these to make it look like it can work? Kind of my issue is going to be, I think it's going to be part of my issue. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get some of this to work. Like right here, I don't think that's going to work out very well. At least right there. What that would be, but alright. Might be kind of interesting against this wall over here. Well, yeah, this is kind of one thing, is like, I'm still kind of, like, I like the idea of having, like, an antique auto store, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if I can pull it off. One of the issues in this game, it's like, you know, you have some great ideas, but can you actually do them? May have to do a little bit of work on this side, but I think something like that's not terrible. I still want to incorporate one of these signs in here. Something like this. I just think that's way too big for what we're thinking here. We might have to make our own custom sign. And as some of you know, some of you don't, I'm not great at sign building. It's not my strongest point in this game. For some reason that grid is not letting me go down anymore. Maybe 1 meter is the correct one, but I'm just kind of off a little bit here. Nope. For God's sake. Why in the world is this not working? It should go right in the middle here. I see that works, but when I turn it, it doesn't work. That's really odd. Unless I made the walls wrong, which I'm not saying I didn't, but I'm going to move these in one. Like that. This wall now should actually work. a lot of overhang though, which I guess it really can't be. Well, we put like memorabilia. For God's sake. I've tried to make this thing a wall 3 separate times, and I missed all 3 times. That is pretty impressive. All right, so I think something like this, and then we can put like, hold on, can we put a wall here? I guess we can. We'll have to figure out something around here. I don't think a door will work, because I think that's a little too small. Yeah, I don't think that's going to quite fit the bill there. So we'll have to figure out something from that. I have an idea. Let's see if this works. I don't know if it will or not, but we're going to give it a try. Because I want to, because buildings like this, if you have a really flat building, I know we kind of had this issue with a couple of our backstage buildings. They were really flat. It's like, you really don't want that. You don't really want a flat side to a building like this. You kind of give it a little more dimension, especially with like Art Deco stuff. Very curved. It's a very like flowing building type. So it's like, I'm thinking about putting stuff like this kind of along the front here. Something like that. Just kind of give it a little bit more interest to it. I think it looks pretty good. It's not, you know, it's okay. It's not. It's not great, I'll be honest with you. But it is somewhat working. So I did place this one underground. I want to split this one off of the building and then make it. It's kind of its own separate building. Just to make sure I can kind of get the flooring I want. Because I don't know. I'm starting to doubt myself a little bit because of this. It's like, it's an idea. It's a neat idea. I just don't think it's going to work. And that's where I'm kind of like, okay. Which... it's not ideal. I'll be honest with you. You know, it's like usually I have a pretty good idea. It's like, all right, this is what I want to do. But here it's one of the cases where it's like, do I really want to try this, or do I want to try? You know, do I want? I think it might be in our best interest, not really for time, but actually just kind of nuke this idea. I'll leave the flooring in because the flooring is pretty good. Yeah, I don't think that diner car dealership concept would have worked. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of what Kings Island did. It's really just a basic station. There's nothing really special about it. But I think it looks pretty good. It serves its purpose, and so it doesn't, you know, it doesn't really need to do much else. Do something like that, though. Actually, I want this to be the station building. And I have an idea, because I didn't know this. Well, I kind of did, and I kind of didn't. It's because it's one of those things. Like, I kind of knew how that worked, but you know, I didn't really know exactly how. So we do need some sort of switch track. It'll probably be down here. So what I want to do is I want to head and actually place an extra row of concrete over here. Or concrete, this is the diner ceiling. It looks pretty good, nice and smooth. I don't want to cut it there because we have a little river there. So kind of the idea I want to try is actually making it look like that area we can actually pull cars on and off, so either we can refuel them or give maintenance to them. Because you also got to remember, these are actually gas-powered vehicles. And so they'll need maintenance and stuff like that. Same with like the Tomorrowland Indy Speedway or something like that. They do have, you know, needs that they need to cover, and you know, they Disney, I think, has a lot bigger one than this, but I think Kings Island, literally, they have a track that I can't remember if they actually can pull out of the ground, and then I can't remember how they did, because I saw them do it once. I'm like, oh, that looks kind of interesting. This is actually after I worked there, which is a little bit different. Can we make this a little... let me turn angle snap off here. I do know that we do have a guy standing at a booth. We'll have to cover him up because we actually don't want him. So this is kind of the idea. So if we can take this and actually out the back side here, I want to actually add more station with the entry to the left and right. Something like that. Nothing major. But let's see. Number one, can I actually move this part of, or this car ride down anymore? That's as far as I can go, which is fine. I can cover up the rest of it. But I kind of want that center beam there. I'm okay with the center beam being there because I do need something that the car will sit on while it's over there. So it kind of makes sense. I do actually want to bump this back one because I didn't realize how far it stuck over the river. We'd have to edit the river, and I really don't want to do that. I like how the river is, especially how it goes under the bridge and everything. So I do want to leave it like this. So let's go ahead and delete that last piece. Let's delete one more. Okay, that will work. We can, you know what we could even do? So I know we wanted to make it look like we have a bunch of cars back here, and we still can, but we can actually make it look like this part's empty. Like we don't have any cars there to, you know, we only have a small amount of cars back here. We're keeping. We got most of them out on the ride. There we go. Now what I also can do is edit the track again here. Is I actually want to add a piece of track back here, and I mean whip it like a hard turn here. Can I make it any shorter? I cannot. So do I want to lose any more out the back here? How many cars can I put on this certain track right now? Is my question. I don't know. Let's see here. Operations. Trains. We can put 4 out here right now. Do I reduce it down to 3? Because I think that's what it's pretty much going to take if I want to do this, which I think I do. Well, you know what I could do? Alright, I have an idea, and we're about to edit this a little bit more now. But essentially what I'm trying to do now, let me go back to the construction process here. I'm going to actually delete this section here, and so we can move this forward as far as we can. And so to the point where we don't have to edit the river, we can kind of build a fence or like a wall around it, and we can actually move these guys forward. We might build a little retaining wall for it, but I don't think that'll be too bad. Although I am going to bury a staff member. Well, you know, let's be real here. It's not going to be fun for him. But yeah, I think that will work. And I think we can actually use the same one here now and make the rest of the switch track available, which I think will work out pretty well here. All right, so let's turn this. Come on, there we go. A half a degree up should work. And then let's level it back out. And turn it. Ooh, maybe not. Alright, so here's the other idea I had. Let's go and nuke that. Let's bring in a third car ride, which fun stuff. Let's be real here. Anti-car ride. And I have to place it down somewhere, so right here will work. So now what I want to do is just add a straight piece there. Go back here, delete. So I just want to delete the station, and that didn't work. All right then, well that's a bit of a issue. Let's try that again. So essentially what I'm going to do is take the track I have now, or that I'm going to be building right now, and turn it into the connection between our actual ride and the let's see here. Actually, you know what? Let's actually bring this straight here, because also what I didn't know, I kind of remember now, is that we actually sunk the original ride into the ground just a little bit to make it look a little bit more realistic. There we go. Yeah, it's a little bit better. That's better. I'm gonna go ahead and edit this track again. Now that we know it's the same height, at least, we can go through and we'll delete that one. Let's actually shorten this piece up to the 8-meter section, and then let's turn this one so it's pretty well in line. It's not not perfect, but it'll give us the idea of what we're going for here. Now we can turn this back to straight, and then remember, this also is not a precise science, because Planet Coaster really doesn't allow for this technically. But alright, so now that we've got that done, let's see if we can actually delete from like here back. There we go. So now that we actually have kind of our extra track piece there, let's go ahead and actually move it back just a little bit here, so it lines up a little bit better there. And now edit the building again, and then delete this section back here that we don't really need anymore. And then this piece we can actually make it do we delete this one, and then we can kind of turn this one out just a little bit. Turn this out just a little bit here. While it is overlapping another part of the track a little bit, it does make it look like there's a switch there that we can actually pull trains on and off. That's kind of the idea. This is going to be probably the most difficult part, is trying to get this to look like it's one piece. Which right now, that's what I was kind of concerned of. Alright, so now that we have this, I can kind of line this up a little bit better. Oop, I hit escape one too many times. There we go. So let's actually... Oop, that's not what I want to do with the wrong button. Alright, hold on. Sometimes this game kind of gets me a little frustrated with... it's more of my computer having some issues with it than the actual probably game itself. But, it's still kind of frustrating sometimes. Okay, this I can work with, because we can then actually get back to this piece and just turn it out more, and I'll make it look like we did. But now, if sort of, it didn't work out as well as I thought it would here. What happens if we delete this piece here? That didn't work as I thought it would. But if we delete that piece, though, there, now we can kind of manipulate this a little bit better. If I didn't hit the escape button too many times again. I don't think I've ever seen somebody rage quit Planet Coaster, but it just might happen today. There we go. So let's now edit this one again. So this one now should at least be lined up with that track here. Now, if I do want to actually, I want to edit this one a little bit more, just because I don't quite think. I need a little less angle. Ooh, let's do that first, so that we have a little bit of a buffer. There we go. So now I think I need a little bit more of an angle on this piece, because how tight this area is, and which kind of makes sense if we're, you know, we kind of built the right, we're like, oh crap, we got to build a maintenance area now for it, and so you know, this might have been like an in-house design project too. So it's like, oh yeah, maybe not ideal, maybe not the best thing, best work done here. But we're also kind of working with the space and the kind of the budget, kind of quote unquote, we were provided. Which, you know, that's kind of how the original, like the one at Kings Island is. If you look at it, it's in really a small space. I think it's going to have to go or something like that. You know, I guess we could, you know, I think over here it kind of makes a little bit more sense. Make it look like it's a pull-off track like that. Even though it kind of dips down a little bit. I mean, really, these are still like almost like big go-karts, so I think that kind of makes sense. Go ahead and switch over to there. Centennial Edge, how are you doing today, sir? Go. Come on, deep. There we go. So now I think we'll go ahead and kind of, you know, fill in this area with, essentially would just be concrete, but you know, that's what we got. Do we want to do this one out more? I think we'll be okay with that. So essentially we're going to fill this platform. Although that does reflect quite a bit, which yeah, I think we're going to go with it, just because, number one, I don't feel like redoing all that, because that would be a bit of a pain in the butt. Let's go ahead and split this one for the building. We'll make this a nice angle piece here. Which really, well, they really don't have... so I was thinking, well, we can use that as a secondary control console. But really, they don't... like, they really have control consoles on these rides, because they're all like free moving vehicles. They just don't need to be, and it's like, so I don't know. And also, I got to figure out how to cover this up a little bit better. All right, so now we need to move back out this a little bit more. This needs to be rotated just like that, just a little bit. That looks pretty good there. We can slide that back into place here. Now we need to take this last piece over here and move it back over here. Split from building. There we go. So that looks pretty good. We do need to figure out something like this. Not quite sure I'm going to do that quite yet, but also I think I might just put like a small maintenance building here to kind of cover this up. Essentially, we'd put like tires and extra, you know, spare parts for these vehicles back there. Nothing too crazy. Ugh, only 40 minutes in the stream, I'm already yawning. That's not ideal. But all right, I think that's kind of a good foundation for what we need. So I think we can move on. We can try again for our building here, which I think I'm going to go with something a little bit simpler. Probably something. So I'm trying to think how I want to do this. I think this is the easiest way. I'm going to use the same grid as these guys, and I'm actually going to pull one of these out. Because I want to replicate. Essentially, I want to make this really replicable. I mean, essentially, it's very basic in how this is done. I'm trying to think how I want to do this now. I mean, a 4-meter beam, how colorable is this? I don't really like how that texture... So I would make it like, kind of like, probably like a yellow station, like a faded yellow and white station. I think something like that'll look really good. We're gonna do it in plain. See, that takes the color a lot better, and the detail on it's a little bit nicer. It's not too awful bad. So turn that to there, and then let's rotate this up into position. There we go. So now I want to actually copy all this, or copy that to there. Now I do want to have some sort of little more of a base to it. That might work. Let's see here. We paint this white. Kind of slide it to where it's better in position here. And this needs to come down quite a bit, because this is just going to be the outside pillars. So I don't expect it, or like I don't, don't need it to be that tall. Alright, well that's a good start on it at least. So there is that. So let's actually put in some fencing. Essentially this is going to be the outside of the building, so I do want to have some fence along here, but I also want to use this fence as our queue line fence. Maybe at least part of it. I mean, this white picket fence is a good idea. Or they actually have a picket fence here. Let's have like a guardrail-esque one, which I didn't notice before. That would have been nice to use for the guardrails. I do have a 2-meter section of this, which is not bad, because of the fact that it's not quite 4 meters what we're working with here. So let's take a look here. And slide this to there, like that. How's that look down here? Well, we might have to do a little bit of work on this. Let's see if we can maybe make this work a little bit like that. That looks like it'll work a little bit better. So now that we've got kind of our fence up, this do we want to start working on... We do need a little bit of a roof on this. So let's back to the wood over here. And... like this. And then we can use this to help support the roof a little bit better and things like that. Let's actually make sure that, number one, this is lined up with the 4-meter grid here, or the 4-meter section. I know I want to move this probably over just a tiny bit, well, maybe a little bit, just to make sure it's lined up over here. There we go. I know it's going to stick out just a little bit, but I think that's going to add a little bit of interest. Which, unfortunately, that wood's got a little bit different texture than this one, and that kind of drives me a little bit bonkers. What I guess I could do is just do this. Rotate this down. Actually, I don't think that's quite... Yeah, I don't think it's quite lined up there. There we go. There we go. So now, because the whole idea about this was, since I built it on a 4-meter brick, I can now just duplicate all this down and make it a little bit easier on myself. And really, what I could do, I even think about this, something like this. So I'm going to delete this one here. Hold on. then move this. And now, if I did this properly, I can now just do this. And duplicate this on down while we're placing the floor. And get a nice and even pillar section, which I think that works out pretty well. You know, didn't even think about the duplication one, but yeah, that works out pretty well. All right, let's go ahead and get rid of this one and do the same thing over here. Let's actually use the end one here, probably a little bit easier. Or not. Ooh, that's a bit of an issue. Because really it was only designed to go that way. Which I guess what I could do actually, hold on. Let me, come. How many of these did it just drop? Alright, hold on. There we go. I'm actually going to go ahead and nuke all of these, if I can, because this game is... it's auto-saving right now, but it's... I have a feeling that this is going to be getting close towards the end. It just haven't... Unless I can figure out a way to it's either more, you know, I can get more RAM or something like that. I'd have to pretty much rebuild my computer at that point. Which, you know, I wouldn't mind doing if sometime, you know, because the computer I have is nice. It's just, it is, some of the parts are starting to get either worn out or something like that. So it may be time to start looking at a new PC or, you know, think about getting some parts for a new PC. But yeah, I went and looked not too long ago, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, at getting new parts. What would it cost me for me to actually get a computer that is better than what I have now? And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't cheap. The computer I originally built, and I think I built this computer probably, if I had to guess, maybe 4 years ago now. I've had this computer for a little bit. I have a, I'm trying to think of the specs now off the top of my head. But I'm thinking it's an octa-core processor, so if you don't know what that means, or just, you know, not a tech person, it means I have technically I have 8 computer processing units, CPUs, in the thing. It's actually a true 8 cores instead of what they call hyperthreading. Hyperthreading is where they take 4 cores, which is pretty simple. You know, it's pretty common, and then they actually can do 2 processes at once, so it looks like it can do 8. But really, it's only just 4 doing the work of 8. So it's you know, when I bought it originally, it was like $300 for something like that. So it wasn't cheap. Can I make this a little bit longer? I can actually connect them. Ooh, I can. Beautiful. See if I can do something like that. I'll have to work on that a little bit later, because I guess what I could do is actually just move the exit. I had to close the ride, but and where do I edit the track? But my computer, essentially, it's not like it's ancient by any standards. I mean, you're talking, you know, 8-core processor. I think I have 32 gigs of RAM in it. And then, so 6, and then I've got a pretty good graphics card. The graphics card might be what's an issue, but it's still a GT. Is it a GT 1080 with 6 gigs of RAM? It's a newer card. I know the card is newer than the computer it is in, because I had some issues with my old one. And I think now everybody's going to jump out of there. Yep, the whole line just cleared, and they all just disappeared. Oh, I just killed a bunch of guests. That's a bit unfortunate. Alright, well, it happens. If anybody's played Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, or the original Roller Coaster Tycoon game, you know accidents do happen. Alright, so now, I don't know why I can't just do this. Make sure it's all highlighted and everything. Slide all that out of there. And then only include one of these sections here. And then I can actually use the grid as intended and duplicate all this. Rotate it around. Ah. That would be an issue. Because none of this now wants to line up at all. Well, that sucks. Alright, well, I'll have to do the kind of the older way to do this. I just want to copy these for right this second. Don't worry about those pieces. Advance, duplicate, and move. We'll go ahead and copy all those. Rotate them around 90 degrees. Go back to that one. If I duplicate these again, and then rotate them, kind of bring it back to the original idea, and then do something like that, then I can actually just take these center beams here and duplicate them. Well, it's going to be a little bit more than 6 meters. I think I can kind of get away with this. There we go. I think something like that would be a good structure to kind of start with, at least. It's not maybe not the most ideal, but I think it will work. So essentially I want to do the same down here, but I want to make this, I think I've kind of spoke on this a little bit when I was talking about this. When I actually was doing this originally, I actually might be able to actually copy these and make it a little bit, closer lined up to what I need it to be. So something else I kind of stumbled on recently, that if I had the money, or I have the money, if I had the time to do it, I would go do this. So there was an ad that popped up on my, I joined a couple of Facebook groups that do different stuff like this. Let's redo that selection. But there's a group I was in called Old Cincinnati, and they post different pictures of Cincinnati because that's where it's where I'm from. Kind of like seeing how the city used to look. It's kind of a neat little page. But there was an article that popped up there from the Orlando Centennial, I believe it is. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, and it said a hidden gem in Cincinnati found in Tampa. And I'm like, okay, I've got to see what this is. So I'm reading the article, and it said it was a monorail. I'm like, all right, hold on. Don't know what this is. I've got to figure out what this is, though, because I'm a big monorail enthusiast. I want to know what Cincinnati monorail was found. And I wish I had a photo of it to bring up, which I probably could go find one, but but it's something for sale on Facebook Marketplace, which I've never really dealt too much with Facebook Marketplace, but what I can tell, it looks like the real thing. And so it is a monorail car that's been welded to a trailer. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I've seen this monorail before. I don't know where. And so I did a little digging, did a little reading, stuff like that. And apparently is actually one of the Kings Island monorails. I've never spoke about it on here before. But Kings Island used to actually have a monorail. And they actually used to have something called the Wildlife Safari Park. Essentially, it was like a safari ride, But instead of using trucks or something like that, like they do at Animal Kingdom, they actually used a monorail. And it wasn't a very big monorail. The one that I saw for sale was actually on a car trailer. But I'm like, it's welded to it. They were going to use it for a food truck, which, interesting idea. They were supposed to be serving space age ice cream out of it, kind of like a Tomorrowland style of food truck. But they decided as they started working on it, they're like, yeah, this isn't going to work. So they kind of scrapped that idea, and they kept it for I don't know how long. And now they've put it up for sale, and I would love to own my own monorail. That would just be one of the neatest things. A person like me who loves amusement parks, things like that, would love to own. I just don't know how I could get it back home. Like I could figure out other things, but right now it's like essentially I'd have to drive from Cincinnati to Tampa. Once I got to Tampa, I would have to pretty much turn around and come back home. It's a 14-hour trip one way, so you're talking 28 hours without stopping. And of course, you'd have to stop for gas and food. Sleep, you probably would have to, but if I could figure out a way to get it up here a little bit easier, I would, and it would probably be in my driveway, and I would probably, the coolest thing to do with it is to, at least what I would do with it, is have it restored, kind of as how it was when it was in the park, and then I would stream out of it. I think it'd be kind of cool to do a Planet Coaster video from a monorail. That's just my own thought. So if anybody knows how to ship it from Tampa to Cincinnati, let me know. I'll figure it out. Like I was looking like I can run a U-Haul or something like that and tow it from there. But number one, U-Haul is expensive. I think both there's a couple other like rental companies like that. I think Budget and what was the other one? I think Budget and Penske truck rentals. It's like yeah, you can use it. Unlimited miles. It's like $900. It's like, all right, well, so you're doubling the cost of the item just to tow it up here. It's like, I don't know about that. And I have a vehicle that would tow it back. That's no big deal. I mean, really, the monorail itself is just pretty much a steel shell of its, so it wouldn't be no more than probably 1,000 pounds, if that. And if it wasn't on the trailer, I could just use, get a box truck or a large pickup truck and put it in the back of it. But it's welded to this trailer, which the trailer's nice. It's a little car trailer that you could, put a car on. But yeah, that is the one thing. It's like if I could figure out how to get it home, I would own a monorail, and I would be going down this weekend to pick it up. But for some reason, I just cannot, for the life of me, figure out how to get this home. Which I thought was an interesting story. I thought you guys might be interested in something like that. It's a bit of an odd story, but it's also really neat. It's also, it's park memorabilia. It's something like that. And if I'm mistaken, and I could be wrong about this, but the year it's this year coming up will actually be Kings Island's 50th anniversary, or it was this year and they had to push it back to next year. So the 2020 or 2021 is when the 50th anniversary of Kings Island. I think we need to actually have that monorail restored and then not donated, but have it displayed at Kings Island as one of their kind of showpieces for their 50th anniversary. That's just me. It's going to be driving me crazy for the next couple of days trying to figure out how to get it home. If I can figure out how to get it home. And you'll know if I do, because I will do a video at least on it, on getting it, or at least, going to pick it up and stuff like that. I think it'd be kind of a neat little, kind of like a blog, I guess you could say. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on with me. I do realize I just kind of made a mistake, because I have no idea where those paths are now. I might just have to do this. Hold on. Let's delete some of these guys out here. Because I realize I'm building all this, and I'm like, I have no idea where those paths are anymore because all the people just died, which kind of sucks. But hey, you know, we'll figure, you know, this is a way we can do it. I really don't want to actually have like run supports up through here. I think just kind of leaving it like this works. We'll leave this open like that. I think I kind of like how that is. It's got a little bit of a lip to it, so it's not like it's a huge deal. So yeah, let's go ahead and I'm going to copy this one. Like that. And if I put one of these down, actually, you know what? If I do this, I'll make sure it's perfectly in line then. Because I think this one is actually a little bit too far to the right of our, you know, kind of the viewing area here. Something like that'll work. And we just got to fence in this last little bit of area here. I only have a start of the queue line for the car ride done. Go. Now we can, I'm going to go ahead and just fix the floor real quick, so that we don't, so I don't forget to later. Which that's a little bit more of a obvious one to see. But I don't know down here where they actually do the turn at, and that's a bit of an issue. I got cables wanting to run off my desk. It's not ideal. Come on, game. I want. Yes, that'll work. Alright, so get rid of all those and all those. That. And then one more should actually, you know, pretty much fill that out. Go. So that'll work for that end. I think this is pretty much good for this end. So I'm just going to put a cap on it. Like so. And I know it's not quite aligned with this, but I think we can kind of get away with that. And then if I do something like this, I can then just duplicate one more, put it on this fence here, kind of help break up that fence a little bit, because even with fencing, you kind of need to break it up sometimes with something like that. And if I can do something like that, there, and last one there. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. I think that works as a queue line. We need to fence off this area just a little bit so people don't try to line jump. Because, you know, big thing, a big issue in parks, you know, people try to line jump. I've never actually seen it myself, you know, for how many years I've worked there, but like I've had other issues come up. I know one thing that was kind of big that happened to it, it probably would happen at least once a year, would be counterfeiting. You know, it's something you'll think about in a park. But essentially what they'll do, and I should know this, I used to do the training on it, as in I actually would be teaching the class on this. They essentially, what people do is they'll, counterfeit their money in some way, shape, or form. And they'll bring it to an amusement park and then just spend it. And while it seems kind of an odd idea, because all of a sudden you have this person with a lot of $100, $100 bills. That's actually not uncommon in an amusement park. I mean, maybe nowadays it's a little odd, but when I used to, you can go to a park and stuff like that. You could bring $200 or $300 in cash, especially if you're on vacation or something like that. It's not a big deal. You can think about that. So it's not out of place to see someone with a large amount of money, and they would just essentially spend the money, and like they would pay with a $100 bill or a $50 bill, and they would get real money back. And so I actually had a couple bills that were kind of suspect. I never actually got a counterfeit one, but it did happen in the park. We actually can mark we had the markers. If anybody's seen those, it looks like a black marker. They're about this long, and you swipe them over the car or swipe them over the bill. And if it turns black, like if there's like a marker that's still, if there's still a mark there, it's a good. I'm not saying it's a good bill. I think that's how, if I remember correctly, it's been 3 years since I had to use one, so it's been a little while, 2 or 3 years. And then if it's soaked into the paper, you knew that it was a fake bill. I've had a couple suspect bills that have had to be checked, but never confirmed or anything. So that was always good. But that was that's something that we had to watch out for. It was always and we all knew when it happened because when something like that would happen, we would all get a notice, because even as an associate we would get it, which is a little odd when you got a message to an associate that says, hey, this is from management. Usually didn't get them too often as an associate. As a manager, you're like, hey, you could almost sit there and text to your other managers to say, hey, this is what's going on. I know we used to do that. There was another thing that would happen at the park. Coca-Cola, drink company, would actually send people into our parks to actually shop for them. And they would call them the Coke Secret Shoppers. Creative name, I know. And so what essentially they would do is they would go around. These would only be for food service people. So essentially what would happen is they would go into a store. They would order a drink. They would order food even. They were there to have fun too. A lot of times they brought their families because it made them look less suspicious, which is, not odd, I guess you could say, but yeah, they would look like they're just a regular family, and they're like, hey, can I get a small Coke? Which we had, and it's like, hey, so essentially the job was, or at least as an associate, was you had to upsell to them. It's like, hey, you ordered a small drink, can I get you another, like a large size for 30 cents more, or whatever it was. I think it was 30 cents when I worked there. And, they would say yes or no, and you would get their drinks, whatever. And if they thought you did a satisfactory job, they would actually give you a reward. If not, you get something called an oops card, and then you'd probably get written up for that. Which I remember one night, and this drove me crazy. We actually had another manager call our store and says, hey, there's a Coke Secret Shopper. It is heading your way, and gave us the description of the person and everything. This is actually pretty common. And pretty much in about 30 seconds, the entire park knew about that. So they had to use some creative tactics on us. However, I saw the person. They came to the store. I'm like, hey, I know who this person is. I mean, I did my job like normal. Like, it was not like, oh, I did something impressive on this one. But, I did everything. Did the whole spiel. Did everything. And I still got an oops card. And I'm like, what in the world did I do wrong? There was nothing I did wrong. And don't remember what their excuse was. And it was an excuse. There was no reason I shouldn't have got a rewards card for it. I remember. I remember I was so mad at that they was do a written punishment with you. It's like, hey, this is what happened. And I refused to sign it. I was like, I'm not going to sign this. This is not right what they did. So yeah, it's sometimes you gotta. I would say not all the time. If you really legitimately messed up, fair, take your punishment, keep going. But that time it was like, there's no way that I should have gotten this. And so I'm like, you know what? If they're going to play it like that, that's fine. I'm just not going to get punished for it. And there was a couple times like that, and food service that I hate to say that it was a little bit more of a rough. Like sometimes when I first started, there was a little bit more of a rough park. But the culture of Kings Island originally was not like perfect. I mean, it wasn't great when I got there. Unfortunately, it was kind of built in the pond where it's like, yeah, you could easily get fired from there if you messed up. And that kind of sucked. It really was like, you make one wrong step and you're gone. It was. You kind of were in fear of losing your job most of the time. It's like, why would you ever do that? Like, why would you ever have a place like that? But it happens. I know there's other jobs very similar to that. And I can't even remember. We would go through managers like they were change at work. I'm gonna actually increase the roof here. And I remember there was one in particular I do remember. She was there. This is my second year working, and I was trying to get promoted to a manager. And this girl got promoted over me, and this is her first year. And I'm like, all right, well, you can't really make up the management's mind on who they're going to make managers or not. You just kind of have to work with it and keep going. And she was nice. I talked to her many times, and I just don't think she was ready to be a manager. It was kind of one of those things. I think she lasted 2 weeks and then quit because I don't know if she got enough training or what, but yeah, she was gone within 2 weeks. And that would happen constantly throughout the year. When I was in personnel, they told me, keep hiring people. Because you will start running out of people if you don't consistently hire people throughout the year. And yeah, it was an issue because we actually ran out of applicants. There was not enough people applying for the positions we had. Now, once I got to merchandise and things got a little bit different, it started to get better over there. It still was not perfect, but it was better. I remember one time, and this is something that still burns me up. I can even tell you the manager's name. I won't. But this is my third year there. I was an assistant manager. Was working at Rivertown Potato Works, and this was kind of in the kind of postseason. We weren't completely closed, but we were only open on weekends. And I was in college, and I'm like, I would come in. I didn't have any classes, or I had like one class Friday morning. So that was kind of optimal because what I would do is I would go to class from like 9 to like 11, I think is what it was, like a 2-hour class. And then I'd go to work for 6 hours and then go home. And so what I would do is I would go in before anybody else got there. I'd make sure the stand was ready, but I would just start cutting potatoes because that was one of the big jobs we had to do. I don't really like that roof at all. That's way too much roof. All right, let's try something else now. All right. So let's try this again. Because I don't like how that roof. It's too much roof. There's too much angle on it. So I think we either have to do a 1 meter and then kind of work on the middle a little bit better or something. Anywho, actually, you know what? I think I have an idea how I want to do this. Sometimes this happens. Number one, I start talking and then kind of lose what I'm doing. But I have an idea of how I want to do this now. So I would come in on a Friday. I actually kind of volunteered to do this. I would come in on a Friday and cut potatoes until I would work probably anywhere from 11:30 to noon till about 4:30, 4:45. Because I had to go, at that time, I had to go pick up my mom from work because for some reason her car was either in the shop or something like that. something like that, something a little more long term than the car. But I would pick her up from work and then go home for the day. And it wasn't a bad job. I actually kind of enjoyed that. I would turn on music, just listen to music while I cut potatoes. And I would do this for hours on end because that's all we had to do. And it was weird. So if you ever worked in a restaurant, let me go ahead and, hold on. Yeah, this one. Nope. It's this building. We'll need to edit this building. But I remember I was cutting potatoes one day, and I had to leave a little bit early for some reason. And we're not talking like hours early. We're talking like 15 minutes. All right. And we had these racks. They were probably about 5 foot tall. And their whole job, they would actually hold fryer baskets for us. And they would hold, the baskets of fries that you can actually just drop right into the oil. That's what they would hold. Split this from the building here. And so we, I think, have 5 of those. And each one held, I want to say, probably around 24, 25 baskets, somewhere around there. And so pretty much we have over 100 baskets sitting there that would need to be filled before I left. Okay, most of the time I had no problem doing that. And I could get it done relatively quickly. It would still take probably the full 4 hours because we also blanch them. There's the cooking process for a good potato. If you've ever cooked potatoes, the best way you can do it is actually blanch them first and or kind of par cook them in oil first, and then let them cool off to room temperature, and then refry them again in a hotter oil. You get a nice mashed potato inside, but then you get a nice crisp potato on the outside. Essentially, to me, it's like the best way to make a French fry. And so kind of what my job would be is I would actually go in and actually cut the potatoes and actually do the first cooking on them. But that could take up to 4 hours we're talking probably 300 pounds of potatoes that we would go through. And each box, I think, was 50 pounds. So we're only talking 6 boxes of potatoes, which doesn't sound like a lot. But when you're by yourself cutting potatoes, it can be a little bit of a chore. But that's what I signed up for. I'm like, you know what? I'll work these 6 hours. My counterpart actually worked from, it'd be 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. to midnight. Because that was when it was during the Halloween haunt. And so we had no problem with it. And then I would usually work the early shift from 8:30 till 8:30 to 5 or 8:30 to 7 the next day, or work the haunt shift sometimes then, so he can have the night off, whatever. But yeah, that's kind of what we did. That was kind of our set schedule. And so on the said day, I had to leave a little bit early, and I had all the potatoes cut in baskets. They were just needing to be fried. And then it was getting about the time I had to leave it, and my counterpart came in a little early. I'm like, great. I told him what was going on. I'm like, hey, I need to leave. This is why I have done this one. He goes, yeah, no problem. I'll get it done. And so I left. I was a little bit early, but I left and didn't think anything about it. I figured it was covered. I trusted my counterpart and everything. And I come in the next day, and my area manager's standing there, and he's got a write-up in his hand. And he goes, hey, can I talk to you in the back? I'm like, oh, sure, And he goes, hey, I'm going to write you up for insubordination. I'm like, hold on here. And for what? And he goes, well, you left yesterday early. I'm like, well, yeah, I told you about that about a couple of days ago. I was going to leave early. And he goes, no, you didn't tell us anything. And I'm like, no, I did. It's I'm pretty sure I even have it in writing somewhere. And he goes, oh, well, there was a couple excuses that went on. Anything from I didn't tell them that I was leaving early to things like I didn't have enough potatoes cut, or I'm like, before I left, I double and triple checked that I had all potatoes cut. I had all of them were in baskets. Most of them were already fried by that point. But no, he wasn't taking anything. He goes, nope, writing up for insubordination. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm just not going to sign it. And I'm like, this is kind of silly. I gave him my reason. I'm like, I'm not going to sign this because I feel that this isn't correct. And technically, they can't make you sign anything you don't want to sign. And he was kind of shocked that I wouldn't do it. And I'm like, you know what? At this point, I'm like, the worst you can do is fire me. And like, at this point, what I've kind of been through, you can go ahead and do it if you want to. And he didn't. And he let me go. And didn't have a problem with him the rest of the year because of that. I don't really know if it's actually because of that, but there came a point where I think everybody in that place was like, you know what, the punishment here is not worth staying. And I think that's what happened to a lot of them, is that the culture that was there was that you were so worried about getting fired and losing your job, it got to a point where you just didn't care. And that's not a good thing in any job, where you get to a point where you just don't care anymore. And I think the park kind of suffered for it. And I think eventually they got their act together, but it took them a couple years to actually get it together. Now you kind of can see what I'm kind of doing here. I like the shape of this. This is a little bit better than what I was thinking. A little bit better than what I was doing. I might do some like lattice work or something like that there and make it a little bit different, kind of unique. I do need to raise the roof a little bit. But so if you ever I know this is something that I had to learn, that you need to go in there, kind of really look at the company before you really go into it. Because it could be an issue where, you might enjoy the job, but the culture of the company and kind of what the atmosphere of your coworkers and your managers are, it may not be great. You might have to be looking for another job in a couple months. I can remember one year. I can't remember what year this was. I remember I was either an associate or a manager in food service. I know it was in food service. So it was one of my first 3 years there. They had, so kind of how the hierarchy of Cedar Fair works. You had associate, and then you had assistant manager, or assistant manager, which was also called a team leader. Then you had the store manager, or it was a little bit different for each department, but you had a store, like a supervisor, and then you go to area management. Now in food service, there was an extra step. There was a store supervisor, and then there was a team leader, and then it went manager and then store manager. Store manager was above the other two managers, essentially. Then it went to an area manager, and then it went to what they call a gold tag. So if you ever walk through a Cedar Fair park and you see somebody with a golden name tag on, that means they're actually a full-time person, unless they're in maintenance. Usually maintenance gets a white tag, I believe. But yeah, if you see kind of the full-time managers there walking around, they'll have a gold tag on. So we call them gold tags. That was just kind of what we named them. The area managers were called blue shirts, and they went to limeys because they went to a lime green shirt. I know these are some creative names, but yeah, so if you ever hear somebody, limey's coming, there's an area manager coming, or so stuff like that. So the full-time managers were kind of, from what I remember, they were selected by kind of the other managers. There was a gold tag that was over everybody. He was kind of the vice president, but he was also full-time. Then there was 5 area managers in food service. There was Area 1, which was, if you look at Kings Island, it was International Street, and Action Zone, which is called something else now, I believe. I don't think it's called Action Zone anymore, but when I was there, it was called Action Zone. Then you had, let me actually get back over to this wood here. Then you had Area 2, which is where I used to work, was Coney Mall, some of Oktoberfest, and Rivertown, and then, which was most of Rivertown. Area 3 covered the rest of Rivertown and Planet Snoopy. Area 5 was water park and I believe catering. One of those was catering, and I don't remember where. I think it was Area 5, or it might have been Area 6, and they just didn't really have an area manager. Especially that was just special events and things like that. So it didn't really come out too often. It was more for like Picnic Grove and things like that, which I think was Area 5. Anyway, that is not really pertinent to the story. Area 1 was probably the roughest one to work in. If you ever got sent anywhere, you didn't want to go to Area 1 because it was usually pretty busy. That was in front of the park, so it kind of made sense. But the other issue is that the management wasn't great up there. They had some okay managers there, and some I actually knew pretty well. But the gold tag there wasn't, you know, at the time, I don't even remember his name. I don't remember if it was male or female. But it wasn't great, you know, it was kind of lackluster. And they just weren't doing a good job. Like, people were, they always didn't have enough workers. They always were asking for help. I mean, we didn't mind helping them, but it would be like on a hourly basis they were asking for help because they just didn't have the people to cover their stores. And then eventually we found out about halfway through the year that they actually had let go the full-time manager, which is a bit unheard of because most of these people have been there for years, some even decades. And when I say that, I'm not really joking. There are some people that they kind of move from different parks. But yeah, they've been there for a very long time. Because people even retire from places like this. But it was interesting because I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, so they got rid of one manager. Who are they going to replace him with? Usually replace him with an area manager. And they did that once. And I think it was a female at that point. She didn't do any better. And I think eventually they kind of kept that cycle going where she would hire one of her friends or something like that, and then she would get let go, and then they would promote them. And it came to a point where I think they went through 3 or 4 different area managers in 1 year. From what we heard, at least. And it was a mess for that year. That area, you just did not want to go over there. But for some reason, you would always get sent over there. Which, you know, they finally got their it took them about a year. It pretty much took the rest of that season and then into the next. They finally somewhat got their act together, I should say. It may have not been 100% perfect, but it was a lot better than it was. Yeah, I remember that year pretty fondly being sent. I think that was the same year I got sent to Funnel Cakes. I never worked a funnel cake store in my life, and I got sent there, and they were having me make funnel cakes. Like, guys, I don't know how to make these. Like, it's like midnight. I was supposed to be off at 10. It was one of those things like, all right, well, you know. But, you know, I think it's gotten better over the years. I think even when I left, it was a lot better, even in food service. Now, while I didn't work in food service when I left, it had gotten better from the people I had talked to, at least. So that's always a good thing. You know, if you are truly trying to make yourself a little bit better, not, you know, it's like you're going to have some struggles, of course, I know. But at least they were trying. And I would still go back there. Like, I saw enough. It's like, yeah, I would go back. If they had a IT position open, I would go back and work there full time. You know, it depends kind of, I guess, how the pay is. But, you know, I guess it would be pretty good, hopefully. Because if I'm not mistaken, which I could be wrong, technically this past week was the last week for my college. And according to the website, I have completed all the requirements for my associate's degree. So hopefully in a couple weeks, I'll be getting my diploma in the mail. Because they're not doing any commencements or anything because of COVID. Which is, you know, it's a little unfortunate, but, you know, hey, I'm still getting my degree. That's what I really care about. So yeah, that's, you know, it's kind of nice actually not having to worry about classes. Well, at least for right now, I'm not having to worry about classes. I have a feeling that I might continue try to get a bachelor's degree in either computer science or engineering of some sort. I don't know yet about that, but still, it's something that I'm kind of proud of, actually being technically graduated college. Even if it's just a 2-year college. Still graduated from it. I know, technically, I think I'm the first in my immediate family to graduate from college. I don't think anybody else has. I know technically, someone else has in my family. Yeah, I'm still a kind of accomplishment for myself. It's kind of neat to see that. Alright. Back to Planet Coaster, though. I know I've rambled on about... kind of frustrating when about some of the stuff I used to kind of deal with at Cedar Fair when I used to work there. But back to the park here. I think this is actually turning out pretty well. I think the lighting's pretty good. I think the support columns are going to work. I'm not going to do... I don't want to do like cross beams all the way across. Like down the middle here. I think this would support it enough that we wouldn't really have to worry about it. And there's enough lighting in here. I think it looks pretty good. What also is driving me a little crazy though is that the middle column there is not exactly aligned with the middle of the roof pitch there, but I do want to make it a little bit smaller because if I make it any bigger, it's just going to look like I've added on to this roof here. And I guess we could take a look. Let's see, I don't even know if this is going to work then. You know, we can give it a try though. It's not like well, I mean, worst thing apart, we just gotta undo it all, so it's not like it's the worst thing in the world. So essentially what I would do is take all this and move it, turn this down, move it back 2, because then I can do this and up 1. Rotate this to the other side here. And while that's still not in the middle, that's going to drive me crazy. I think that's not terrible. Let's see if we can get this to work now. You know, this roof is still technically lower. This actually might work out a little bit better for us then. I know I've got this one's kind of been like, you know, back and forth of, you know, what we want to do with these. But I think so far, I think that's actually looks a little bit better. Actually kind of makes it look a little bit more like, you know, a little more planned, I guess. Oops, didn't want to do that. Alright, so I think we can just go ahead and I'm just going to copy all this and use that instead. I think that's going to be a little bit easier on us. Now what would happen, I'm kind of curious about something here. Let's split this from the building. I know, a little shocking right now, but what would happen if we actually move this to where that's in the center? That looks better, I think. I think we can do the same on this, the other end too. So let's do that. We might have to extend the roof line out just a tiny bit on the main section. But I think something like that, I'm going to eyeball it from back here. I think that's pretty close. It still gives us a little bit of a gap here, which I'm okay with. I can kind of do the lattice work and everything there. But if you notice over here, it does need to extend the roof just a little bit, which we can do that real quick. That won't take me but a couple minutes. Or minutes, probably seconds. I don't know, with the game, the way it goes sometimes, though, it could be minutes. But let's see if we can just get that. Let's see here. if I do that, so that's okay for this side here. Go, and here we go. So we'll fix this side here. I'm gonna take a quick break, guys. I'm gonna run to use the restroom really quick while I do. So just give me like 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll come back here. We'll finish. Well, I'm hoping to finish the station today. That's kind of the idea. The station and then kind of the back part here. At least for that, and we'll maybe do a little more details. We're actually trying to get the station done. We can kind of move the rest of the car right here in a bit. So I'm going to throw that up there, and guys, I will be right back. And give me a couple minutes. I'll be there. Buddy, I am back. Sorry about that. You know, sometimes I have to take a break. You know, it does happen. So if you see here that the gold tracker we have, it says we're at 49. We're actually at 47 people. If I can go ahead and let's see if I can figure out there's a way you can do it, but yeah, I won't worry about that right this second. Yeah, we're at 47 right now. I think we lost somebody, unfortunately, between Friday and today. You know, it happens, but there we go. So back into here. I think this building looks a little bit better. It's kind of what I was thinking of. I was kind of going for the moon with the diner set there, but I think this actually looks more like what we should use for our antique car ride. Didn't we call it Driving Miss Daisy? No, we actually called it Antique Auto Tours. There we go. I had this idea all along. It's perfect. But something like this, I think, oh, well, if I can zoom out just a little bit here. This will work. What I want to do, though, is I actually want to bring down our fence here, which I forgot is actually the white picket fence. Yeah, maybe forgot about that a little bit, but, you know, it happens. But we did do a little bit extra work on this fencing here. We do actually have a curb along it, so it does, it actually is raised up just a tiny bit. But I kind of want to see how this incorporates into the building itself. I'm just kind of curious, really. So let's actually bring down a that's not what I wanted. Let's actually bring down a section of fence to kind of see how it would look. Because I think that'll kind of help us with some decorations on the outside and see how we want to do them. Do want to actually bring this more along the path here. Like that. And then we need to rotate this around. Like that. Slide that back into there. And slide that over here. I think we need to do at least one more of these guys before we get to the station. And like that, and over, and there we go. I think we can kind of get away with one more of these. Essentially, what I want to do is actually bring. Oh, that might be a bit too overkill. Something like this, though. Like bring this section like this over to kind of match up with the fencing along here. Oh, so I'm going to turn it just ever so slightly. And in like that. Perfect. There we go. Let's keep on duplicating this down. know, I think that looks pretty good. I think that works out pretty well. Kind of gives you a little more of a front here. It kind of makes it look a little more finished a little bit. Yeah, I kind of like that look of it. And it gets a little narrow in here, which I get, but you also got to remember this isn't, I don't know if I'd call this the main path, because it kind of does split off in two, and I think more people use this path back here because it's, you know, kind of on the main path from the 80 section. But there is some people, I guess, if you're walking through here, coming from the front of the park, I guess I could see that. I would think that would be the main section there. So yeah, I think this looks pretty good so far. Now I think I'm thinking about actually adding a wall back here instead of just a fence, because if you think about this, let's say one of these carts gets away. You know, it starts actually running a bit of a. Ooh, I just realized that's a bit of an issue. That switch track does not look great on that end there. Hold on. But one of these carts runs away, and like the throttle gets stuck open or something. It would go right through one of those wood fences. I mean, there's enough mass there that it would just roll right through that thing and not probably care. That works better, I think. Yeah, I think it's a little bit better. So I got a feeling we probably should put some sort of wall out here. And since we did this perfectly, we can just kind of build a wall out this way. And I think that'll work. I'm thinking brick. Maybe a nice little ornate brick wall here. Something kind of lively like that. I think that'll work. Let's see if we can what kind of brick we can do. Well, probably bricks ain't going to help us here, but brick will. I think I want to do with a modern brick wall for a couple reasons. Number one, you got to remember this is technically, I mean, I kind of like the idea of what Kings Island did. They got rid of it originally, and then they brought it back. I think this might be the second incarnation of this ride. So they kind of took the old idea of the ride, but this is actually now, like, it was built, you know, in the past couple of years. So it will look, some of the buildings will look old, but a lot of the stuff like this, like kind of behind the scenes, would be new. So I'm okay with that. I kind of like the look of the new brick. We'll put this kind of spooky brick on the bottom. That's what it's called, at least. But I kind of like how, you know, make it look like a nice solid fence. We need to do something to the top here. What do we want to do to the top of this wall? That's a good question. Do I want to do something like that? I put a small. Oh, that's a. I can't do that. Although a brick like that would not be bad looking right there, though. Especially if we can make it like a red, like this brick. Hold on, let's see if we can do that. So we'll do that. Copy it to the board there. Put that down, and then turn that into that orangey color. That's not what I wanted to do. Go. Ooh, it's a little bright. So never mind. Let's forget about that idea. I think that looks pretty good in and of itself. Let's see here. My eyes are getting a little itchy. What else do we want to do this wall here? Let's kind of scroll through the building area here. See if we can find something that might look kind of interesting as a kind of the top of the wall kind of thing. I mean, what I could do... hold on, what does this look like? If we do something like this, turn this to there. Slide that to there. You know what? I bet you if I switch... maybe not. Thought it was a little bit bigger than I thought it would be. It's too thick. I think it's too thick for the top there. But I think if I can get one of the wood pieces or something like that to work on top of there, that might not be a bad idea. Maybe one of these castle trims, maybe? It's way too big on that one. I think this is way too big, so that's not too bad. What would it look like in the orange? It's still way too bright. I need to fade it, is what I think it is. Maybe not. Alright, well, that was a good idea, but I don't think it's going to pan out. This might be a little too big. Yeah, it's just a little large there. That might be a little too wide, a little bit too tall as well. This is a little bit more difficult than I expected it to be, but we can. This might work. I know it seems a little odd to think about that, but this might work. So if we can hide the print on the bottom there. Kind of make it look like that. Actually thinking about something here. If I actually switch these two and put this on the bottom and then lay this on top here. I think it's a little bit more of a defined edge, things like that. I think that looks pretty good. And then we actually want to move this out just a slightly bit more to that way. Get a little more of an overhang. I think I actually like that a little bit better than what I had been coming up with. So that's what we're going to go with. So now we got to exit out of here. Can't duplicate it. I need to advance copy and move it. Or advance duplicate and move, or duplicate and advance move, whatever you want to call it. Hopefully. And I think that's completely off. Let's try that again. Hold on. Oh, no, that didn't work. Turn our angle snapping off. There we go. If I slide this forward now, this is still a little bit off. Not as bad though. That's better. Actually, these need to move down this way now. Probably around there. I'm not too worried about how the foundation and everything. I'll fix that later. But I just want to actually get the wall in. Like the first kind of, we'll get this corner in. We'll fix it, and then the rest of it just duplicating it and moving it. And I realize that this is now totally wrong. That's why I wanted to get all of them in first before I really started doing the fixing details. Stuff like this can happen. Like if we fix that corner and then realize that this corner is still wrong, then it's a bit of an issue. I'm gonna actually use this one because I know this game is going to drive me crazy. I'm gonna use this one because I know it's on a 90 degree, or this one's just a 90-degree angle of that one, so I can just slide that over. It'll make it a little bit easier on us. You know, you just make it to where I don't have to worry about trying to trying to line all that up from an angle that I have no idea what it's about. Alright, so there is kind of the main corner done. I think that works pretty well. I think that's going to look, especially once we get it done, I think it'll look really nice. And I think these are pretty long. I can actually go ahead and slide that over to there. Move over here, slide this one as far as I can this way. Slide this back that way. And then on this side here, I'm actually going to duplicate this one, slide it underneath, kind of make it look like a built-up wall a little bit. And then we don't have to worry about kind of building it's a little bit of a retaining wall, I guess you could say. But it looks like kind of a solid foundation for this wall, which I kind of like. Slide that back to roughly about there, and we'll do the same with the foundations. This one I think I'm just going to slide over just a little bit like that. I forgot to do it on this end, so let's do that really super quick. No, they're not meshing together as well as I thought they would, but that looks pretty good. I quite like how that looks. Now we can go ahead and duplicate this. I do know that the rock formation at the very bottom is number one, duplicate. Number two, we shifted this over and forgot to, didn't think about fixing it, but we'll figure it out. Let's go ahead and delete that one, and then move this back over where it should be. I'll have to fix. I'll actually probably just do this now. Go ahead and duplicate this one. Slide that over to there. Now I've got this building here. Go ahead and duplicate it down because now this is kind of the fixed version of it. So it should all line up nice and neatly with little to no overlap. We're actually in the covered bridge now. Kind of the interesting part. Ooh, it does overlap the bridge just a bit. Let's actually do this. Let's make it like a 30-degree angle there. Slide that along there, and there we go. And then I think we can bring it out one more, and I think that'll be good for our wall there. If for some reason a car came off, if anybody was working over here, they should be pretty well protected. And I think that, it's kind of marks off kind of an area that we can do maintenance on and not have to worry about things like that. So I'm happy with it. I do want to bring this over more, though. Essentially this whole area would probably be concrete because in actually, or kind of in reality, I guess you could say, this actually would be just some have tracks, some don't, that I've seen. Potentially this would all just be concrete. You could just drive. If it did not have the guides on it, like if it wasn't on the rail itself, you could just free drive these things around. Even funny enough, if you go and watch the announcement on when they re-announced the antique cars, the general manager of King's Island, Mike Kuntz, which I met him a couple times, he actually drove one into one of the restaurants. The restaurant was actually meant you could easily drive a vehicle in there, even a full-size vehicle. By no means are these antique vehicles anywhere near that size, but you get the idea. It's a neat. It's neat. You can because essentially they're just oversized go-karts, with a little 2-cylinder engine, or not 2-cycle, 2-cylinder or 2-cycle. Like I know that's two different things. I know, but I don't know what they would use. I'm trying to think. They might just use a 2-cycle engine. They have a little small, like a low horsepower kind of thing, but if it works, it works. Come on, give me that piece right there. Right there. Right. It's that piece what I need. Because I want to duplicate it, move that over there, split it. I'll do the same thing over here. Split that from the building. Move it to there. So there we go. We got a nice clean edge here. Now I think I do want to rotate this. Now that we've done that, I do want to rotate this just slightly. A little less slightly than that. And rotate it into position over here. So that kind of the edge now is just kind of touching that edge. At the end of the wall here is just touching the edge of that concrete, kind of like that. That's pretty close. It gives it a little more of a definite curve then, I guess. We can also add probably one more piece of wall down here, just to make it look like a little more formed this way. There we go. So there we've got kind of the basic structure of our car ride station. We've got our little maintenance area. We've got our main building here. I think it's looking pretty good. I think it's a step in the right direction. It may not be the most good-looking one out there, but I still think it works out pretty well. And I think I like how it looks at least. We need to see something about this roof though. Let's actually, there's something I'd like to do with this one. I did say I want to do some like lattice work. I think what I can do, I need fence is what I need. Because, well, I could just slap down like something like this. You actually can do kind of what a lattice or a lattice work would do with a fence like this. Let's slide that over there and up like this. And there we go. We'll do kind of something like that. And add these to a group together. Add and edit. And we can slide this over to here so that we have room for another section of lattice work on this side. And you can already kind of see kind of the cross hatching happening a little bit. Probably want to do something like that. Now, what I'm going to do here. Probably something like this. I think I can actually get away with only using one of these across. Maybe. But now you kind of get this nice, like, lattice-looking area. I think it looks pretty cool. I've seen other people use this. That's where I kind of got the idea. There's quite a few other people I've seen do this. So, while it's not perfect, it'll look kind of like someone tried to make a lattice piece, and then it was like, ooh, I don't know. It looks a little more secure. It almost looks like a grate for like a store or something like that. And I don't know if I want to put plants up here, because I got a feeling what would happen is if you put plants or something like that up here, it would start damaging the roof a little bit, especially it would hold water quite a bit. Now, even though those are metal, the rest of the roof is wood, so that's not great. I do need to actually put some supports on this side of the roof, because I do realize that I didn't have any. So let's go ahead and duplicate it. We'll just use something very similar to this. There we go. And we'll slide this down to here, so we can line it up with the bottom here. Actually, I don't think we'll need to extend it at all. I mean, do a little bit of a gap. We have a little bit of a gap. Let's more of a gap than I thought there was, and so let's fix that. There we go. It kind of looks like just an extension on it. And we'll do that. Duplicate it. It looks like we only have to do it one more time. We'll do it on there. Make sure it's lined up on it. Looks like it. Hit OK there. Now let's grab the other 4 pieces from over here. You know what? Let's actually not. Let's go ahead first off and let's do the middle supports here, because we need those. Let's see here. Something like that. Slide those over here, and then rotate these around like so. Well, that's a bit of an issue. I didn't expect... I knew these were going to be shorter, but I didn't expect them to be this short. 1, 2, 3. I think I can do something like that, and then slide it. It looks a little odd, I'll be honest with you. I actually try to use the world axis. That's not going to help me at all, because I want to slide this up and then down just a little bit more. There we go. Slide this up and then down a little bit and then back up. That should work for that one. Alright, so now I think we can go ahead and move all this. That's not part of it. There we go. I get rid of these two now. Now I can go ahead and copy this over to the other build, or the other kind of roof section here. And there we go. So now we have a. I think that looks well supported. I think that looks realistic. That's kind of the ideal, at least. Trying to make this look a little more realistic. This does look a little plain though, and I get that because it's. I don't know. It's one of the things where I think it's shaping up pretty well, but I'm just out of steam. I don't know what it is. What I might do is I'm thinking maybe next week. There's 2 streams, or then I have 3 streams left in the year. I'll probably do Factorio for at least one of those. Probably this Friday. No, I probably have more than that. Well, I technically have 2 Fridays to be Factorio. Am I doing this right? Hold on, let me look at the calendar real quick. I think I'm starting to lose steam. I think this might be where I stop for today. But let me just kind of discuss a few things with you guys. So I've got the 18th, which I'll probably stream Factorio this Friday. We have the 23rd. I won't stream on Christmas. We have the 30th and then the 1st. Right at the first of the year, I'll do a stream probably. That's a little tentative. So the 18th, I'll probably stream Factorio. And the 1st, I'll probably stream Factorio. So I really have the 23rd and the 30th that I don't really have anything for. Or 23rd and 30th that I usually would do Planet Coaster. I think we take those 2 streams and we change them, do something else. Not that I don't want to play Planet Coaster. It's fun, but there comes a point where you kind of get to a dry spell. And you kind of get a little lackadaisical, and you're just kind of a little more tired of trying to be creative this much. You know what? We might play some Among Us. Some Among Us might be fun. I know a lot of people play that. Do that for a stream, and maybe do a BattleTech stream. See if we can beat the game finally. That might be kind of a fun thing. I think that might be what we do. At least for BattleTech, yes. Among Us, maybe. So, guys, I think this is where I'm going to wrap up, so I want to save it here. But before I go, do want to wrap up just a little bit, guys. So let me save the park first before I forget to, because I'd be the one to forget that. Come on. Save park. Lake Park. Come on, game. There it goes. Alright, so now I can flip over to the main camera. There I am. So guys, thanks for joining me today. I really do hope you enjoyed that. It's a little bit shorter than I normally do. Right around 2 hours. 2.5 maybe. But I think right now, I've kind of burnt myself out a little bit on Planet Coaster. While I still want to continue building this park, I think for the next couple of weeks, I want to try something a little bit different, just kind of mix some things up, trying to make it a little bit different, kind of take the mind off of Planet Coaster for a little bit and do some other things. I think we should go back to BattleTech. I want to see if I can figure out a way. I might just try to beat the mission off stream, because I think I had 3 streams straight where I tried to beat that mission. I couldn't do it. So I think we go through there, we kind of look and see if we can figure out how to beat it, or just might just have to God mode it and do it that way. That might be the easiest way to do that. And then Factorial will probably Fridays, and then the Wednesdays will switch up. Because we're almost done with Factorial. I want to get that done. I want to build the Spidertron this week, so I think that'll be kind of fun. So we'll see about that, guys. If you are new here, I do appreciate you dropping by. If you are looking for a way to support me, the best way to do it is actually leaving a follow. We are up to 40. We're actually down to 47 now. Fortunately, we lost 1. We're trying to get to 50 with the remaining 4 streams of the year. We're actually getting kind of close, and it's going to be interesting to see. So I think we can do it. I think that's very possible that we can do that. So I think for now, guys, I do appreciate. Oh, one more thing I should mention. If you are kind of a fan, you want to see more content, you want to see how the rest of Thunder Lake was made, or how when I play BattleTech, because we're going to be probably back into that for at least probably next week. You want to see any of those streams that I did, you can actually take a look at my YouTube channel. There's a link below the stream here. You actually can take a look there. It has all my streams archived there. It's almost a full year of streaming right now. So that's quite a lot of streams to go through. So it's been fun so far. I hope it continue at least through February to get a 1 year of streaming in. I think that'd be quite fun. But I want to get to that follower goal first. I want to get there before the end of the year. So if you guys can help, that would be fantastic. But for now, guys, I think that's going to be it for me today. I will see you guys here on Friday for some more Factorio. Hopefully we can build the big Spidertron then, and hopefully get closer to our inevitable goal of actually building a rocket and leaving the planet that we are on. That's a goal at least. Hopefully you can be there for it. That's what I'm hoping for. But for now, guys, I will see you later. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Have a great Thursday as well. I'll see you guys on Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for some more Factorio. But for now, guys, I will see you later.